If we had a baby here, they would not stay still.
No.
They're not supposed to stay still.
They're not supposed
They're
to.
supposed to be all over the place, exploring, creating connections, but then what screens do is that
we keep them still because we want them to stay still. So I need you to stay still. So what do? I hand over the phone.
And the brain specializes prematurely.
Hey, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here. Subscribe. I am talking to amazing women. Women you probably haven't heard of, but I tell you, by the time I'm done with this lady, you'll be like, where has she been? I found Lorna on YouTube.
Hi, my name is Lorna Muthamia Ochido, and I'm making it one of my life's mission to demystify the speech therapy field and to empower more parents on what they can start to do in order to optimize their child's communication outcomes.
Lorna, hey, it's taking us a minute to get here.
Yes.
So introduce yourself. What does Lorna do?
So I'll start with my full name.
Please.
So I'm Lorna Muthamia Ochido, and the way I now intentionally refer to myself is just the different roles that I play, and there are quite a bunch at the moment.
I want the one that brought you here.
So I am a speech and language therapist, and I mostly specialize in pediatric populations, so children. And in the pediatric population, I have further specializations in that I work with children, what's referred to as early intervention. So while their brain is still very malleable, because then we are able to make the most gains out of them. I also specialize in literacy and literacy disorders, so reading disorders, difficulty reading and achieving reading success. Yes. So, and I also work with children who have repaired cleft lip and palate. I work with children who stutter or they stammer. So the terms are just really depending on just where you're from.
Yes.
It's like speech therapy and speech pathologists,
Yes.
one and the same thing. So that's the role that I play.
And
in
the
my
reason I
career.
saw you and I said, I need this woman. And the reason I reached out to you, and I remember it was like December, and I wanted to get you onto my platform. And I was traveling, you were traveling, and you never asked me why. So I'm going to tell you why. From the time my daughter was in kindergarten, her school principal kept telling parents, limit TV time. And you could tell it made people antsy. Parents don't want to be told, number one, they can't have their favorite babysitter. Their favorite babysitter is a TV or a phone or a tablet. And until you started talking about delayed speech in children on your YouTube video, I was like, this woman needs to be heard. What got you onto this journey?
Well, so I just felt like I needed to share with the world just what I feel I'm good at, and this is speech therapy. I think I'm a damn good speech therapist.
I think you're a damn good speech therapist.
And it just really broke my heart that I was seeing more and more children come and access speech therapy at my clinic for reasons that I felt they didn't need to be there for.
So I just need you to unpack that. So what a lot of us don't understand is that children should be able to start doing certain number of words by.
Yes.
So what are the number of words?
Oh gosh. So your child at 15 months should at least have 5 to 10 words.
Yes.
Or 3 to 5, at least a minimum of 5. And at 18 months, which is just a year and a half, they need to have between 25 and 50 words. And it grows just very, like...
I can see the parents watching this saying, what is she saying?
Yeah, and that's
how many words? Yes.
And at 2 years, they should have between 200 to 300 words. Imagine.
And this is not happening because I know you're all in shock. That's why she's here. Find her later. I'll put her number somewhere here.
I found, so in the 10 years that I've been practicing in Kenya, and I mean, speech therapy is such an it's not very familiar profession in the country. We are less than 10, I think, qualified speech therapists in the country.
And I knew the only other two you knew.
Yes.
Emma Shaw.
Yes.
And
there was Elizabeth Kruger, and they both left, I think, about 2 years ago. But we also have Kenyan speech therapists as well. So I found, in my 10 years of experience, that the two reasons, I could break it down to two things or two reasons why these children most of the children that were coming to the clinic. When I say most, like about 80 to 90% of the children that were coming to the clinic every, to access speech therapy, the reason why their children were delayed was because of two things.
Tell me.
They were overexposed to screens, and as a result, their language was understimulated.
You never thought about that. You see why when I found her in December, I said, you need to meet her. The reason you're actually wondering, is it possible for a child to have that many words, is that it delays their ability to speak. And then the parents get nervous at what age? When they realize, something's not okay here.
I'm happy that the age is getting lower, but it was 5 years. 6 years is when...
A 5-year-old cannot not. And you know what we tell each other? Lakini, and especially we say this about boys. Boys take a while to talk.
And it's not just those old wives' tales. There's also our medical professionals that will also reassure you and tell you, you don't need to worry, just send them to school and then they'll be fine. So I was experiencing all these little myths, and I just felt like I needed to start busting those myths one at a time, because it was the reason why a lot of these children will not optimize on their potential in life, not because they are not smart. You're only born with just 50% of your IQ anyway.
It's unlocked really, as it goes along.
Yes, but it's the environment. And the first 3 years are so important in a child's life because your brain grows to 80 to 90% of its adult capacity in the first 3 years of life.
Allow me to qualify that what you're saying is true, because I don't know how many of us actually pay attention when we go and see the pediatrician, but she actually measured, if she's a good one, she measures this child's head
circumference.
And she will tell you, brain is growing. The brain grows. It does.
It does.
Yes, I've learned to ask those questions, but I also say it's so important to know what is it the pediatrician is doing. I have that pediatrician who's like, here's one ball, here's the other with my son. She was like, are they both there? I was like, hello. Yes, but that thing you just said, 80% of that brain grows.
The first 3 years. It's such a small, tight window of opportunity. And parents don't realize that. And, babies are born with trillions of nerve synapses that haven't quite synapsed.
They haven't
not connected. So they're not specialized. That's why a baby, if we had a baby here, they would not stay still. No. They're not supposed to stay still.
They're not supposed to.
They're supposed to be all over the place, exploring, creating connections. But then what screens do is that
we keep them still, because we want them to stay still. So I need you to stay still. So what do? I hand over the phone.
And the brain specializes prematurely.
Whoa, okay, wait. I did not hear that on your video. Say that again.
The brain starts to specialize prematurely. So they're fixated and stuck into very limiting, scripts or mental scripts. So the hardwiring basically is determined by what you expose your child to, so the environment. So the mechanical input really does very little to make those connections, So you find this child then starts to become very limited in many ways. Like they are limited in their social skills, in their socializing, in their interest, in their play skills. So all the things that are determinants of how the brain is functioning, like their play skills, you find they're very rigid. They only play with one particular thing. They're not interested in anything. So you find as a result, they're communicated to less by anybody that is around them.
And speech is learning what other people say. Let me tell you, I'll make you laugh. So my housekeeper used to say that the first words my son would ever say are nduko. And I used to laugh at her like really, really, really. Sure enough, when the boy finally uttered his first words, he went, cuckoo. He just said nduko. Because obviously, number one, we all call nduko a lot.
That is what that means. It can only mean that.
And that, I mean, Lois is not an expert like you, but she, after he did the mama, guess who else he calls religiously? Ois. He doesn't, he can't say le, not yet. He's only 17 months.
And that is fine.
Ois. Yes, because it works. And of course, he's interested in the things that matter to him. Cars. Car!
Yes.
It is said with so much oomph.
Yes.
But you're right. So if we had given him a tablet to keep him still, he would never have said nduko.
Well, It would have been delayed.
It would have been delayed.
Yeah. And probably would have had no interest in communication, because the screens don't teach you the basics of of communication. So there's no turn-taking skills. There's no eye contact. You can talk to a child that's on a screen, and they're not going to look at you, and you don't even make an effort. Like, look at me first. Here's your juice, and you hand it to them, and they're there, very glued and very in their world. And it actually also contributes to, yes, more than them not being interested in being stimulated or interaction, it also makes them, can tend to make them quite hyperactive. And you'd think, but that doesn't make sense. My child can sit here for 3 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's because they're sitting there for 3 hours, because the images keep changing, the color is changing, the volume is changing, like every second. Just try and go on any of the cartoons that your kids are watching, and things don't stay still for a long time. And so you're training the brain to want things to change that rapidly. So when they have nothing, they are just, and you can't contain them, because they are wanting, like, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me. What do I do? What do I do? So you're actually not even cultivating learning habits. And social skills. There's nothing that is of benefit to your child, by them being, in front of
a screen.
Yeah.
Whether that is a TV, whether that is a tablet, and whether that is your phone.
Or a laptop or a computer. I think it's very important we make that distinction.
Or screens.
And even if it's educational content or not educational content.
There's got to be time. And the only reason I'm so excited by what you're saying is that, once again, I mean, for everybody who still has to deal with a headmistress, a class teacher who's still begging, please do not allow them more. Mrs. Ali at the Montessori Learning Center says 30 minutes. I could tell people were like, jive. Is she kidding? But she was like, they don't need more than 30 minutes, and actually more than 30 minutes is detrimental. So my 30 rule is, and I just told you, all tablets in my house are charged to 30%. They'll die.
That's genius.
You have to bring it back to me.
And then that's when you have kids in the house. Because when there's no electricity or the internet is down,
then you know. Then you know. So I'm going to take a break so that actually you can catch a moment, because you're sitting there thinking, no, yes. The reason our children have a problem communicating, settling down, being hyperactive is the fact that, sadly, we have introduced them to screens, no matter what they are, too early. And we did it because we wanted them to settle. And then you start seeing a child when they're 5 because the parent is concerned, this kid is not talking. Once again, how many words? I just want you to say this before we go into the break. How many words? At about how many?
So at 18 months, they should have between 25 to 50 words. At 2 years, they should have between 200 to 300. And at 3 years, they should have 1,000 words that they can say.
The debate you're about to create over this, and she's going to tell you, she stands by it. Her name is Lorna, and she is a speech therapist, and she actually specializes on pediatrics, which are children. Subscribe, drink something, and then come back. I won't even specify what, because God knows you need it.